welcome to the Fuel Podcast, man. We are back. We've been gone for a minute, but we had to get back in here, man. We are excited to just inspire, man, to share our hearts, everything that we know, we're learning to fuel our entrepreneurs and to fuel our creatives and our influencers. So, man, I'm here. I'm Tyronne McCreary, podcast host. I'm here with my lovely wife, Tonya McCreary.
Hey, hey, hey.
And with my amazing sister, Nadene Long, man. We don't have a special guest for you today, but we do have a great conversation. And what we want to get into today, I think that will really bless our listeners. I'm really excited to talk about this. I want to talk about some hindrances to entrepreneurship. And in particular, I want to deal with the hindrance of getting started, right? Yeah. And then after you get started, what do you do? So often when you want to start a business, you're going to SBA, different places, right. Small Business Administration, and they're telling you need to do this, that, and the third. But for me, I know my greatest challenge really wasn't, getting the business plan together. I mean, and that can seem a bit intimidating. It really wasn't the idea. It was getting started.
Actually getting started. And I think there's a lot of people out here that when it comes to a great idea or it comes to a passion, when it comes to business, or wanting to start their own business and get into entrepreneurship, what I found is one of the greatest, and even talking to people, I was just sharing with someone today, man, get started. I remember when one of the first ideas I had about business and doing business, a gentleman that I met a long time ago, he said to me, I was like, yeah, I want to start my business and I got to get my business name. He's like, you got a social? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so then start your business. Wow. Wow.
No
reason not to, right?
No reason not to. He was like, look, you can start doing business. The other stuff is good, but you got to start.
But why do you think, like, let's just start there. Why do you think that people, because business plans are out there. I mean, you can go get templates.
Right.
Yeah. That's super easy. Yeah. LLCs, depending on what state you're in, it could be $50. Yeah. It could be $300. Right. So it's not that much of an investment. But why do you really think that people don't take that next step?
You know what? I think because, and not just from my experience and even some people I talk to, I think that they let too much mount up, right? That discourage you from getting started. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I gotta get my LLC or I gotta get my S Corp or whatever the case may be, right? I have to, I gotta get my business plan together. Right. I gotta get my money together. I gotta get. And if you're not careful, you just keep, it's like
excuses.
And they become excuses,
that's
right?
All it is.
And more stuff mount. It just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting. And, man, you can never move forward standing still.
Right. That's absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think a lot of people that mounts the frustration. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because, all right, here it is. I want to start this business, and then all these things start mounting, and then they become a reason not to start because I got to get this. Or you talk to people, and you got to get this. You got to get your process. You got to get this. And I think you do have to do those things, and we'll talk about that in a little minute. But if you're not careful, all of the things that you have to do, to me, will rob you of the energy, that the innovation, the creativity to start. Yeah. And if you think about procrastination, one of the biggest reasons that people procrastinate is because they just don't start.
But you know what, though? I mean, honestly, I can say from I think a big part of it is actually fear, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I can say even for me.
Oh, definitely.
When I was starting, the fear of really failing, like that was the biggest. And I think even as I grow in business and the new things, the new ventures, it's always fear. Right. That's usually always the first thing that hinders me from taking that first step, is really fear of failure.
Fear of failure? What other fear? What other, when you say fear, I think for entrepreneurship, there's a lot of things that consist with, that's in that fear, right? Mm-hmm. So fear of failing. But what do you think some other aspects of fear that will cause people not to start? Like
confidence.
Right? Confidence. Okay, but who was it I was listening to that was talking about confidence today? Oh, yeah, I was talking to someone on the phone. They were saying that, it was Steve, my boy Steve. He was saying that he was listening to a coach,
And the coach was saying, you should never be in a place where if you're a player, right, then a coach, you hear people say stuff like, man, they robbed me of my confidence. And the coach was saying, how can somebody rob you of confidence? Like, confidence really is predicated upon your ability to do what you do.
Right.
So preparation leads to confidence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that it becomes a mindset of, like, man, the fear of failing, or when it comes to not having the confidence. But if you know how to do what you do, right? Because that's really what you're selling, right?
So I'm going to play, the other aspect of it, because I mean, I think that yes, nobody can and should rob you of that confidence. But entrepreneurship for a lot of people, it's a brand new realm.
No doubt.
Like, I came from social services into a totally different realm. So although I was confident in myself, like who Nadene is and who God created me to be, but to do something unprecedented for my family, our household, I was
But that's
not
good
confident.
though. But that's very good. And this is kind of like where I want to take it though. I'm glad you said that, because think about it. What are you selling though?
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? Like you said,
I had to learn.
what are you selling though? Because you're really selling yourself or your skill set.
Right. But that was the mindset that I had to change though, because once I started to be me and just have relationships and interactions, selling real estate was easy.
Right.
Because now it was about the relationship.
Right.
But a lot of times we think about business so one-minded that we forget that actually an entrepreneur, you are selling yourself.
And your skill set or your ability. And that's why I said it, because
you are your brand.
Once again, all these things mount up that I think gets pulled into fear, right? So it's the fear of failing. It's the fear, having the confidence. But if you really sit back and think about it, that goes back. If I know how to do what I do,
right?
If I know how to sell a house,
right,
and I know how to interact with people, your confidence is going to be predicated on how well you know how to do what you do,
right?
And even then, it's like, so why not just start?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because in the day, that's what you're buying.
Yeah.
They're buying from you, and it's your ability to sell that home or how well you interact with your client and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So if you really shift your mindset, and that's why I really wanted to have this conversation, because I think that's the biggest hindrance. A lot of people are like, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. They'll say that because all of these other things pop up, right? Well, what if I fail? Okay, but what if you don't start?
Right, then that's failing too.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's my thing. You can't make an impact standing still.
Right.
You can't move. And I'm talking to myself in so many different ways and so many different things. I wanted to have this conversation because that's what God spoke to me.
Yeah.
He was just like, I have some new business ventures I want to move into, and it's really about creating and adding value to people and really doing this, right? And encouraging people, coaching people along the way, like, get started. Like, man, it's fueling people's dream, fueling your passion. And so I was like, man, Lord, I got this. He's like, Tyronne, stop. Just start. And then this is the other thing. He was like, just start and be consistent.
Yeah.
But I want to say, and this is probably one of the first tips I want to give and share, and I think this is important to an entrepreneur or a creative or an influencer, but when you start small.
Yeah.
Like, we try too often to you see other people and you see them getting it and you see it, and then here it comes again, right?
Yes.
Oh, I got to get this. I got to get that. I got to get this. I got to do this. And you understand, it took, for them, man, it probably took them years to get what they get,
right.
I think about, Brett and his equipment and what he's doing with recording. He can look at somebody that's out there that's been recording for years and they got the $20,000 cameras and they got all this other stuff. And if you're not careful, you'll be like, well, once I get my stuff,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Once I get my gear, once I get here, or once I get that.
Yeah.
And then if that takes time because you don't have the capital,
right?
You never get there. Then that becomes discouraging.
Right.
And then you start,
enough.
then you start looking at that like it's a failure.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to share with y'all, man, is like, not only start, but don't be afraid to start small.
Don't be afraid to start small.
And just be consistent with what you have. There's so many principles in that. That's stewardship. You know, a lot of
Can I add
times.
something
Yeah,
in
please,
there?
go ahead.
But and just listening to you, one thing I know that helped me in just starting was also cutting out the noise of other people that really
Yes.
didn't believe in my ability or didn't believe in my vision. I needed to connect myself with people that actually were going to help me.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like money wise, but encouragement. That was really important when I first started. And having Tonya here as my partner and encouraging me and never once letting me doubt myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you don't have a person, all it takes is just one. If you don't have a person like that in your corner, it's going to be easy to just kind of sink back and fall back into the abyss of just, man, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. You just need one person to just kind of be in your ear. Like, yes, you can do it.
And see, you got the right person, because we was joking about this, but my wife has no problem starting anything.
Yes, she does not. And I love that about her.
My problem is consistency.
So we go back to the other part, right? Start small, but be consistent.
Be consistent.
Yes.
Right.
Be consistent.
And we'll, you know, I still want to deal with the start, but I want to talk about that a little bit too. Because in starting small, I think well, let me say this. I think another thing to write down, not only start small, but be confident in what you're starting with.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's going to help. In it is like you know what you have to offer.
It's almost like perfecting that, that craft.
And don't get caught. Don't get caught looking at, you know, as I was using that example, at somebody who's been in it for a while. Or sometimes somebody can have this, you know, they could have major capital backing them, right? And you just don't, just because you don't have that luxury, you can't allow that to stop you and your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to say, okay, because at the end of the day, you can have a lot of capital, but if you haven't perfected your idea and you're still not, you know, masterful at what you do, then I think before long, all that capital may just turn into a bad investment because, you know, you didn't perfect the idea. And, you know, we always talk about like taking the stairs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you can progress and keep moving forward. You know, nothing big started, you know, by taking giant steps. Most people had to take those small, you know, steps. And the key is moving forward.
It's a baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like when a woman has a baby, she has an infant. She don't have a 5-year-old when they come out. You know what I mean? Or a teenager. You know what I mean? Or a grown adult. You have a baby that you have to take and you have to nourish and feed it and grow it and you know what I'm saying? And show it ways and you know different things like that. So I think just knowing that it's your baby that you have to grow. You know what I mean? If you take that mindset.
Yeah, and I think sometimes even being a kingdom entrepreneur, I'm so glad I have God that's gone before me, you know, because sometimes I remember when I would look at other people like, man, like they're flipping all these homes and my goodness, like why can't I don't know anybody that but if you're diligent with what the little things that God has given you, doors will open. Yes. I mean, I remember my first investor, I hadn't done anything to prove myself to him, but because he saw me diligent in just one area, he was more than willing to fund me. And that capital came like that, you know.
But that came from being prepared, like you said, and nurturing what you had.
Starting small.
And being consistent with that small. Now, you know, that kind of brings me back, and you said something before, like with the baby, you know, the idea of a mother with a child and taking the time is in that consistency. It's being consistent with the small. You know, like, okay, every day it may be small in the eyes of some, but everything starts with a seed. So I'm just going to keep working this thing and working this thing. I'm going to keep perfecting this thing because at the end of the day, I'm really selling this thing. When it becomes larger, that's just a matter of scaling that. But it all comes back to look at Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
At the end of the day, they selling the same thing.
The same.
You know what I'm saying? They're selling the same thing, but they cultivated it. They're faithful with it. And whatever they started with, That's what we're selling.
They don't touch the product. They just work on the customer service. They ensure that the customer is coming back.
Yep. And you're like, yo, man, that 12 count on point. You know, like, hey, man, that number 1 with cheese.
Yeah.
And think about it, though. It's the same thing you're eating. Like, I was joking with my son, Mikhail, like, bro, you don't want nothing else? Like, nope. I want that number 1 with cheese.
Because you know what to expect. Right. It's never going to fail you,
It's never going to fail you, right? But they had to, how can we continue to perfect this one thing? And then we just scaled it. How can we do this on a larger level? So what I'm learning and what I see is that if you can't perfect that, right, how can you really, I feel like there's going to be a challenge to step into true lasting success.
Yeah. But there's always going to be challenges. Though. Right. Even at the top, there's going to be challenges.
Oh, no doubt.
Your way, I mean, there's going to be challenges throughout. When I think, just like you said, I was like the systems and being consistent and being disciplined with, I feel like you got to analyze your business.
Right.
What are a few things that you can do? And I'm talking about just take 3. Because that was taught to me. Take 3 things that you can do in your business and do it every single day.
Yeah.
Do not deviate from that.
Discipline.
Do it every single day. If you can do this every single day, I remember she told me, she was like, Nadene, that's your faucet. Because anytime because you continuously do it, those are seeds planted, God will do the watering, and then the next thing you know, you'll be reaping a harvest. You'll be reaping that harvest so tough that you'll get off your schedule. But if you're disciplined, you can always come back to it.
Right.
Always come back to it and then turn that faucet right back on.
And I love what you said with that because, no matter what, right, you could fall into the midst of a pandemic. Things can get rough financially, but you can't take away what I do well.
Right.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? You can't take away what I've learned to be disciplined with and what I've learned to be through consistency. And I'll give you, even from a biblical example, I love David's story, and I'm talking about the details of it, to where when it came time to fight Goliath, and they was like, yo, here's Saul's armor. Like, this is what you use to fight giants. And David was like, man, I can't move around in this. I'm a little dude, I can't. This Saul was bigger than me, and I can't, I can't swing this around. I'm not comfortable operating in your armor. The scripture said, he was like, yo, I haven't proven this yet. He's like, nah, give me my slingshot and my staff.
He was disciplined and knew about that.
But watch this. He went back to what he started with.
When he started.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a slingshot as a kid and my shepherd's staff. Like, that's what I work with on it and more. And so what I want to say
and that
from
didn't cost anything, right?
At all. When it came time to battle, he was like, think about it. He ain't had no ammo. He's like, yo, I'm going to go down the river, give me 5 smooth stones. You know what I'm saying?
You don't need a whole bunch of money to start.
Hey, but check this out, though. What's dope is that he knew what kind of stones to grab. Smooth stones. Like, something's going to come out of his slingshot. Right. You only know that when you put time in with what you have. And so, that's the biggest thing I want to say to anybody listening. It's like, man, start where you are. Don't get discouraged because you're looking around at quote unquote competitors or other people who may be into what you're doing, because that can become a hindrance to getting started. And I think you have to be intentional about starting, because there will be so many things. Oh, the kids. Oh, my job. Oh, my time. Oh, I don't have this. You got, and that's been, and I'm speaking from experience. There's some things that God has put on my heart for me to do. And he was like, yo, you're making so many excuses. Just start with where you are. Start with what you have. Don't be afraid to start small, master that, and be consistent. Start with it, be consistent. And I've learned that's even how you build your brand.
Yeah, that really is.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you build your brand.
People are seeing it, and that's what they expect. And so when they don't, it's like, okay, what happened? But then when you consistently do that, though, it gives them a level of expectation from you, the person that's got the business. That's
you know what's dope too? I think with it, and we still gonna come back to that statement, Tonya.
Which one?
Well, your challenge, we said consistency. But what the other thing I've learned is, in the encouraging part that maybe even lead to pushing you to be confident in it, is that you got to believe you can make a difference with the little you got.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It is.
What, believing in yourself?
No, not believing in yourself, but believing that you can make a difference with what you have. Because sometimes that's just hard to see.
But think about this, though.
It's hard to see.
I remember when I went to my man Anthony Andrews' home, and the guy was talking about how companies, right, businesses, what they do is they lease out your mental real estate to make their profit. So really what they're doing.
Go a little bit deeper with that.
So, I mean, like any business you work for, right? Think about it. I'm paying you for your intellectual property.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm paying you for your mental real estate. So I need this. Here's my dream. But in order for me to make my dream happen, I need to hire you.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'm still using, even if you see it, the little bit that you got to promote like my company, my business, my brand.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that to say, there's facts there. Like you're making a difference with the little bit that you have. You're just making a difference for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Versus like, you like, wait a minute.
Thank God I'm already an entrepreneur. Y'all better hurry up and start.
You know what I'm saying? Like with that. And we get it.
Like
not everybody has a heart to be an entrepreneur.
That's right.
You know, so I mean, but there are some that I know and I believe that the biggest hindrance is we haven't been intentional about starting, and we've let the fear of failing, we've let the fear of we misunderstood confidence. Yeah. And I think we failed to realize that we can make a difference. So man,
you know what I heard the other day
down.
too? I heard the other day, I was talking to somebody else and about why they came to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. I was like, oh, why haven't you? She's like, man, I'm just not ready for the grind, that grind life. I'm just not like, it's just where it just doesn't stop. I'm not ready for the grind.
Yeah.
And I read something the other day and it talked about the grind, and I think we've kind of misunderstood, grind and hustle hard, and we say all these different phrases, right? And, even Christians, we've kind of changed them into like pray hard, hustle hard. We're trying to incorporate all that stuff. Yeah. But really, I was like, well, I don't want to grind. Like, I don't want to grind. Like, who wants, if you really think about the word grind, like who really wants to, that's strenuous. But who really wants to do that?
But Nadene, I want you to finish that, but I think it's become trendy words.
It has, like it sounds, but that scares people though.
It does, but it's brand, it's a branded term. I'm on my grind. Yeah, grind is like that's the word now. So if you are an entrepreneur, you better be on your grind. And we've learned how to we embrace these terms to make it sound like entrepreneurship is something only for the elite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the elite, I don't sleep. And all these things, and then later on they like battling anxiety. Right. You know what I'm saying? They got health conditions.
Right.
And I think real kingdom.
Come on and say it.
And I'm not on here to preach today to y'all. That's on Sundays. But look, real kingdom. I think when you step into your potential and who you are and what God purposed you to do, I think you get into that vein where things come up sweatlessly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because people, once again, grind, you may be your time and you're going, but people are paying you for the excellence of who you are and what you do. And I think that if you set up the right systems, it's not so much a grind. It's just more about time management.
Exactly.
It's more about discipline and consistency. Yep. And I think that's where the disconnect comes. Right. Is that because if you just embrace grinding with no discipline, you embrace grinding with no system,
you're gonna be running all over the place.
You're gonna kill yourself. And you won't be successful
because it's never gonna be stopped. Like entrepreneurship, it is. Right. I would say it's 24/7 because I am my business. Right. Right. But at the same time, I do have the ability to turn it off. I can, if I have the right processes and systems in place.
Yeah, and I say, and that's why I think that I'm not saying, man, that processes and systems aren't important, but I think you have to establish who you are first, what you do, what you work well with, because if not, you'll make business about a system, but you don't have a good product that you're presenting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you'll get on your grind, and then you're all over the place. But when you become a successful kingdom entrepreneur, you're making money while you sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like you're resting and you're making money. Yeah. Because you've now found a way to brand who you are. You said it. I am my business and what you do. But I think that if you try to, that's kind of like trying to do the system without knowing your why.
Right. Oh gosh, I was talking about whys all day today. My goodness. Yes.
You have it. But I wanna go back. We joked about it, but I want you to talk a little bit about, because you are fearless when it comes to starting a business.
That's not always a good thing, is it?
Well, I mean, it can be, though.
Yeah.
And I think it is if it's followed with the consistency and the discipline.
And that's what I like. And, because like you said, I will. But I think I don't know, I get so caught up in starting it. I'm like, I can do hair products. I can do jewelry. Or I can write a book. You know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know. I want to be focused. And I think, once you get those discipline practices in place, you know what I mean? Just developing that focus to be consistent.
What makes you fearless, though? Because you are fearless.
I am fearless. I don't know. I think I don't know.
Just know you just gonna jump into it.
I'm just gonna jump into it, and I've been like that for all of my life.
Yeah, you have.
I will just
everything.
Well,
I'll start it. I'll start it, and I'll jump into it. Maybe it's the confidence in who I am,
in who you are in Christ.
Yeah. Maybe
that'll make you jump out.
But let me ask you this, and I think that could lead to a whole. Maybe we'll do one just on certain discipline itself. But why do you think it's so hard to stay disciplined, or we say consistent, right? Or let's use the term discipline, because you can be consistent and just starting things. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that you're not consistent,
right?
But when you've started it, why do you think it's so hard to establish necessary disciplines, right? To now see what you started like flourish, and because I think you have to be careful, because some people, like I know a guy, his title, he said, this is how he introduced himself. He said, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Meaning?
I start businesses.
Yeah.
And he sold.
That's what I am then. I'm a serial entrepreneur.
But this is the thing. This is what blew me away, y'all. He's had 11 businesses. He sold 7 of them.
Wow.
But he sold them for millions of dollars.
Wow.
So his thing is, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, I start businesses and I sell them to people.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, oh, that's dope. Because that answers the question. Some people may not, like, I don't really want to stay into this. I just got creative ideas, and my brand is, you got a problem creating something? Psst, I got you. I'll create it. And then you get the money, you buy the idea from me, and here it is. Here's the business.
And I already have a fully functioning business.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that is so, but to me, that just unlocks like the potential that is in so many people. It's like, man, sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves in and we're going, and then maybe that's not the shoe. Maybe what your disciplines you need to establish is, let me finish off what I like, the start and the process to it, and then let me package my idea, because I know I'm gonna get bored with it. And he said it. Yeah. Wow. He was like, and the guy asked him, he's like, why? He said, because I get bored with stuff. He said, after about 3-4 years, I don't want to do it anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like,
there you go. There you go.
And
right
he
there.
had 11 businesses.
Hey, that's.
And so 7.
I mean, I do get distracted easily.
Yeah.
So distraction.
It's distraction. Because I'm like,
but what do you get distracted with?
With other ideas.
So then maybe you should be a serial entrepreneur.
And maybe you start implementing certain things. So I want y'all to take this other note too, because I went there because here's another tip. Like, when it comes to discipline, and this is where I'm at, like God was showing me, man, start by making small changes. Sometimes, man, we want to like, I need to be disciplined. And if you're not disciplined, you're not going to, it's like, I need to be disciplined and work out. So now you go buy all the gear, you throw away all your food, you get all healthy food, you go buy all the equipment, knowing good and well you're not, if you get out there tomorrow, you probably only gonna be out there for about 10 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but if
Until
you want to
hit the abs, if we had to go down the abs, I'm out.
But if you want to be consistent, I think what I'm learning is start with small changes that you can be consistent with.
Yeah,
it's a great tip.
But that was, going into like, just pick I would say just pick, again, I was told to pick 3 things.
Yeah, that's,
Pick 3
Those
things.
are small, that's what I'm talking about, small
either
changes.
tweak changes just to be consistent in. And you'll wake up and now it's the muscle memory is there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to continue to try to figure out something else. It's like, no, I can be consistent in that and I will see something come up.
Shout out to my man, Anthony Andrews. He told me this. He said, find that one thing that fuels everything else and make that your target.
Yeah.
Like whatever that is, like work that, because that will fuel everything else that you do. Yeah. And I love that on those changes, like you said, hey, find these 3 things, like master that, and become disciplined in that. And like anything else, because we are creatures of habit, once we can establish these small changes and be consistent, it'll also lead to confidence.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm doing these 3 things and I've done this for the last 5 days, now I've done it for the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Now you're confident in that, right? And that it's gonna make you better because any repetition the right way, you know, we used to always say that phrase, you know, practice makes perfect. And that's not really true. Perfect practice makes perfect. I'm sorry, Brett. Perfect practice. I'm hitting the table. Perfect practice
I was like, what?
makes perfect.
Yeah.
And so I love the 3 things because perfect that. And that goes back to starting small.
And that's just, that's what I needed to do because I felt so overwhelmed with all that I felt. And that's a trick of the enemy. It'll make you feel like you just have to do so much. But really, it's only a couple of things that you just really need to do.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so good. Because I think everybody has that issue with discipline.
Yeah.
In every area of their life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, or whatever you're trying to get going. Because it's a core key. Discipline is a core key to everyone's life. And man, you guys just made it so practical and so simple.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how do I develop those disciplines? Man, you just made it so practical. Take 3 things, start small, and be consistent with it.
That's it. I mean, if you could just take 3, analyze the business, but see where it's at though. Analyze and just see kind of what you need to do or what you would like to do. Or I kind of looked at it as, what are some things that I know that, man, I would hire somebody for? The reason why I chose that was because I wanted to make sure that I knew it very well so that when I passed it on, it was easy. It was just like a plug and play. And that way they could take it on and not really have to develop the muscle memory. It was just,
it's a system.
It was a system already. So that kind of started my love for systems now because with those 3 things, I was like, man, I could master these things, pass that on. Okay, well, I'm gonna master these things. I'm gonna find somebody else and pass that on. And then next thing you know, I'm hiring somebody.
But you know what's dope about that? Because now you've moved from starting small, being consistent with what you start. You didn't really worry about the system because
I ain't know nothing about no system at that
but
time.
What you did was you developed it through being disciplined with those 3 things.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, because like I said, that was to me, like the one thing that could be such a distraction and discouraging is that you start looking at the mountain of a system. So people are asking you now, it's one thing to have vision like for your dream, but now you telling me, oh, and you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to build this, you got to build that, and then those are not your strong points.
Yeah.
Right. So now watch this. You're worried about your weaknesses or things that are not your strong point instead of focusing on your strong point and developing yourself to the point where people want to buy that.
Yeah.
So you're not even really feeding what you do well. You're feeding your fear in what you don't do well.
Right.
And now I got to go find, now watch this. Now money becomes a problem because I haven't started selling my product or myself yet in this. Because I got to get money to go pay this person for this, pay this person for that. Now you're so mentally drained and discouraged, you don't even want to start. But what you're selling is not what they're doing. You're selling what you're doing.
Right. Or even sometimes the flip side of that, I've seen people where they have actually, they've gone so far to, they will end up getting people, hiring people, and now they got the overhead. And they haven't developed the muscle memory in any thought process to consistently do that.
Right.
That now they end up failing because now they can't keep up the business.
Right.
And they don't have the discipline now to even tell somebody else how to do it the right way.
Wow.
Right.
But they had this big vision and they wanted to be somebody else and they wanted to be big, right? And had this big overhead and now they're kind of stuck. And now they failed.
Right. And now you got the discouragement of entrepreneurship, right?
Right.
Because
You didn't really build up. Yeah, you didn't.
Instead of taking the baby, and nourishing it,
right,
and doing what you got to do on that. And I think with that, to me, that's the core of entrepreneurship. Like what you started small with and what you've mastered, because that's where your confidence comes from. That's where your discipline comes from, because you had to be consistent with that. And then you're adding, like I said, the small changes that you need to do to make sure that you can now scale your business, right? Now you can get into those other things. And that's why I appreciate it. And I thought about it. And, it's almost like, the rebel, like, oh, you can't do that until you can. Whatever. I'm not selling that. I'm selling this.
Right.
And somebody wants to buy it. So let me get started with business. Then now I got revenue to say, okay, I don't do that well. And I don't even want to sit around and count that up. So I'm going to hire somebody else to do that while I keep selling.
Right.
While I keep making, I keep making my revenue. I keep branding myself, because that's what I do well and that's what I enjoy. Let me focus on what I enjoy. And I thought about it. Look at the entrepreneurs that are really killing the game. What's my man? Tesla.
Tesla.
What's my man? Yeah, Elon Musk, right? He loves what he's doing. He's not like, I'm pretty sure when he started, he wasn't like, oh man, I gotta have my business plan, I gotta have this process. He was just a nerd with what when you hear him talk about robots, and you hear him talk about automation and AI, you're like, this dude is passionate about AI.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of that, you can take everything away, but what y'all are paying him for is his brain, his passion, his heart about AI.
Yeah.
If you go back to Gates, Gates loved Windows. He loved what he was passionate about. He didn't have all the other stuff, but what he presented was what he was passionate about and what he perfected. These guys, Michael Dell, these were some geeks with computers that was in an alleyway. When you hear their story, how they started up and what they were making. But once again, these guys was passionate about that. They didn't let all the other stuff get in the way. Business was a byproduct. But what they did was they perfected where they started, and then they multiplied that idea. And to me, like, your business going to the next level, that's just scalability.
Wow.
But you got to have something first that you really master. You see what I'm saying? The process is to scale the idea. But I don't need a process for to start my idea.
No.
That's all creativity and passion. Right.
I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Now, I don't want to knock this, because I want to be clear. If you're listening, you need a process to scale it. So to make money, to make mass money, you know what I'm saying? To make, to make the kind of wealth that you want to make to bring about real change, that's where scalability comes in. And that's what the system is. But
you don't need that to start.
No, you don't need this. To start, you need your creativity. You need the belief in yourself. You need to believe in your brand and what you're doing. And you need to be consistent with that.
Discipline.
That's
it. You really
start that business.
Yeah. So look, man, that's how we could probably keep talking. We'll save another one. I like to call this, fuel your passion segments. Sometimes on Fuel, we'll have different guests, man, and come and share their story. Sometimes we're just going to come over here and just share what's on our heart, what we're learning. And prayerfully, this is, a podcast that's inspired you. And, 2 things, we talked about it. Hey, start small. Don't be afraid. First, be intentional about starting.
Right.
Start small. Right? Be consistent with what you start. And I love what Nadene said, man. Find 3 things. When it comes to change, if you're looking at yourself today and you're like, man, okay, I'm motivated. What do I do? Start with small changes. And that small change may be start. That's the first one. Start small. Don't be intimidated by everybody else and what's going on around you. Don't feel like time is passing you by, because you'll find yourself standing on the sideline. Time passing. Just do it. Be like my wife, man. Just start the business.
Start the business.
At least you got the business. You got that down. Then we'll get into the systems. All right. So any last things we want to say on this?
Thank you.
No, I mean, what's so funny is, like, I did not realize that just consistency and discipline is really the foundation and the basis. As I'm listening, I'm like, wow, that was really what helped me get to that next level was that consistency and discipline.
Yeah, consistent. I think with that, man, that to me, I'm learning that is the core to being successful and being an entrepreneur.
Right.
Is you got to have that down. You get that, and everything else can be added.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, look, man, we love you guys. Preva, like I said, this has been a blessing. Share it. Make sure that you like. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Man, comment, share. Let us know how much of a blessing it's been. And if there are conversations or topics or things that you would like for us to talk about, don't be afraid, man, to put that in the comment as well. We got some awesome things planned and lined up for Kingdom Entrepreneurs here in the near future. More to hear about it. We got a workshop that we're going to be doing coming up in December. More dates will come on that. And if you want more information about Fuel, please let us know. Reach out to us. All right. Until then, man, we love y'all. God bless. And look, continue to fuel your passion.
Yes.
All right. I'll let y'all talk to you soon.
Like and subscribe. Hit the bell.
Hit the bell.